on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer.
Gloria Estefan is one of the world's most successful entertainers.
She's one of the first Latin superstars. I mean, really, she broke ground for everybody who's hitting now.
But behind the glamour, Gloria's life has been touched by tragedy.
Nothing prepared me for what I was going to go through when we had that bus accident.
He walked in, he was white as a ghost, and he told me, Gloria, I think Gloria's dead.
Find out how Gloria Estefan endured one hardship after another.
911. Yes. I'm on a boat in front of the Governor Hotel. Please call the Coast Guard. The guy said we hit a man on a wet bike.
It was like, another knockout punch.
And learn why she became a voice of reason in a firestorm of controversy.
I am one of the people in Miami. We want this boy to be happy as well.
See how a little girl from Cuba became a worldwide sensation.
If she had died on the vine, the industry would have said, well, it's Latin, it's too confined, it's a small market, but it ain't.
I'm like, whoa, talk about biting off more than you can chew with your first movie role.
And discover what gave her the strength to endure the turbulent times.
I thought, you know what? If it depends on me, then I'm going to be okay.
This is Gloria Estefan, Celebrity Profile. Gloria Maria Fajardo was born in Havana, Cuba on September 1st, 1957. Her mother, Gloria, was a teacher. Her father, Jose Fajardo, was a member of President Batista's elite police brigade. On December 31st, 1958, when little Gloria was just 15 months old, Fidel Castro took control of the island nation.
My father was a policeman in Cuba. He was actually there the night that the coup happened, working at the presidential palace. And he came home, my mother said he was white, very afraid, and told her, listen, there's a big problem here. The president has just left the country. We're going to be in trouble.
Fajardo wanted his family to live in freedom.
He brought us out of Cuba and took us to Miami.
In 1960, the Fajardos were settling into their new home when Jose disappeared.
He didn't tell my mother anything. It was such a secret mission that he left her a note and left. And in the note he said, you're going to be receiving some money once a month. Here's an emergency phone number if Glorita gets sick, and I can tell you nothing else. He immediately went to the Bay of Pigs, training for the Bay of Pigs invasion.
The small government subsidy barely covered living expenses. Gloria's mother was ill-prepared for her new lifestyle.
She had been a pampered baby in Cuba. She never did any housework. She went to the best schools, got her doctorate in education, had her own kindergarten. And it was a rude awakening for her.
Mother, Gloria Fajardo.
I have to adjust to a certain amount of money that it wasn't too much. So I was afraid or scared that the money would run off.
It was tough for her. She went hungry many a night in order for me not to suffer.
On April 17, 1961, the U.S.-backed effort to overthrow Castro failed. Little Gloria's father was captured and imprisoned. Gloria's mother tried to hide the truth.
I knew that he was in jail in Cuba, but she had told me that he was on a farm, so I thought that she didn't know.
Jose was released in late 1963.
My dad came back in that prisoner exchange that Kennedy did, exchanged the Cuban prisoners for medicines and foods and money.
Gloria's father arrived in Miami with a surprising announcement. He was joining the U.S. Army.
He told me that he would leave to the army because it was another way to fight against communism.
We moved to Texas, San Antonio. Those next few years were spectacular for us. We were able to live as a family, and my little sister was born, which to me was a thrill.
Sister Rebecca became Gloria's constant companion.
She got a chemistry set for Christmas, and she proceeded to poke every single one of my fingers and take blood samples to look at under the microscope.
In 1966, a patriotic Jose Fajardo made a life-changing decision.
He convinced me because he was an idealist man. He says, this country is doing a lot for us. They are paying for my education, the education of my kids, protection of everywhere, and I need to do something for this country too. And remember, in Vietnam, we also are fighting against communism.
While in Vietnam, Jose was exposed to the chemical known as Agent Orange. Gloria's father returned to his family when his tour of duty ended in 1968.
My dad came back from Vietnam, and He promised my mother that he wasn't going to rejoin the army because she really wanted to settle and stay in Miami. But she had started noticing some things. He would get confused. He'd be stopped at a green light. So she asked him to please get a checkup. And he went into the hospital to get a checkup, and by the time he came out, they had diagnosed him with MS.
My dad lost his complete control of his nervous system, which normally doesn't happen with multiple sclerosis. As you know, it's a disease that affects the musculatory system. But he deteriorated rapidly.
From then, he was ready. Came very bad. He couldn't walk properly, and he was in a wheelchair already when he came back.
It was tough for the family. It was tough for me. My mother was working full-time, and she was trying to go to the university at night to get her teaching credentials revalidated, because when she left Cuba, they had ripped up all her papers and said, you're starting over from scratch.
We were a very close-knit family. My mom really went out of her way to make sure that regardless of the kind of scenario that we were living at home, things were happy.
School was my escape, as a matter of fact. To most people, school was, oh no, I have to go to school. To me, it was the only time that I had for myself.
Patricia Escoto was Gloria's best friend at the Lourdes Academy, an all-girl high school in Miami.
She was very shy, very quiet, kept to herself. She was very withdrawn.
I had the weight of the world on my shoulders because of the responsibilities I had at home, and at the same time I didn't want to talk about it to my friends because they were in life, you know, and I didn't want to be the one that was a downer for them.
She was not your typical teenage girl.
Gloria found refuge in music.
I would lock myself up in my room, and as I would sing to myself, it was soothing, but at the same time I would cry, the tears would fall, and it was a catharsis for me.
My friends used to come to my house once in a while to visit, and then I used to tell her, please sing for us.
Most of my memories of Gloria are of, being somewhat embarrassed. My mom would kind of always push her out there.
I would freak out. I'd just stare at the floor and play, and they would all start crying. And I would wonder, why do you make me sing if you're going to cry? And she'd say, no, we're not crying because we don't like it. We're crying out of emotion.
In May 1975, 17-year-old Gloria Fajardo graduated from high school with honors. The shy teenager with a gift for singing was asked to perform at a charity event, along with a few friends.
We wanted to put a little band together for one night. There was one guy that was in our brother's school that played guitar and sang, a friend of ours, and he said, look, there's this guy that works with my dad at Bacardi Imports.
That co-worker was Emilio Estefan, a 21-year-old Cuban-American who was also the leader of a popular local band, the Miami Latin Boys.
I saw him, he was wearing these short little shorts and had a very nice tush, which is one of my favorite body parts.
Emilio gave Gloria some pointers.
I always remember, I saw Gloria, I said, my God, he's very talented. I said, hello, thank you very much, it was great, I left.
But I thought, well, that's it, he heard us sing, he left. A couple months after that, in the summer of '75, my mother says to me, so-and-so's getting married, I really want you to go to this wedding with me.
It was very much a family wedding. I don't know if you know much about Cubans, but everything becomes a huge affair for us. And my sister and I went with my mom.
And when I walked in, the band was playing, and I was listening. I go, wow, they really got something. They had charisma. They were so happy to play. The people were having a great time.
That band was the Miami Latin Boys. During a break, Emilio ran into Gloria.
Say, do you mind? Why do you sing a song with the band?
My mother was sitting there at the table, and she heard him, and, oh, sing with the band.
Say, my God, what a beautiful voice she had. And it was like, really impressed me.
And he came up to me after the songs, and he said, look, I don't have a singer in the band. We just kind of play instrumentals, and I'd really think it'd be nice to have you perform it.
He said, no, I just did it because I love music, but, I don't want to get committed. My mom would never let me do it. And I called her back.
And I do remember, curiously enough, about a week or two later, a phone call where she was talking to Emilio and telling him, no, I don't know, this isn't really what I want to do. I'm working and I'm going to college. And I remember that clearly. And then hanging up and saying, oh, wow, I just got this great opportunity and I don't think I'm going to be able to do it, but wouldn't it be great?
The dedicated student faced a difficult decision. Gloria decided that she could continue her education and follow her heart.
This was the first time that I saw her genuinely excited about something and not just doing it because it was what was expected of her.
She brought her grandmother, her mother, her sister, and that's the way she accepted to come and perform in the band.
And I told her, look, I really love to do this, Mom, but I enjoyed the rehearsals more than the performances, really. It was painful for me to do the performances.
Despite her doubts, Gloria joined the band, which was renamed the Miami Sound Machine.
She was very shy, but besides shy, I think she was very sad. I always saw her looking to the floor.
It was kind of a fun thing for her to do, and I think what with her home life and her father's illness and all the responsibility she had, it was kind of like a really great escape. You know, it was kind of like a fantasy world.
In 1976, the Miami Sound Machine released its first record on a small local label. For more than a year, Emilio Estefan maintained a professional relationship with the group's 18-year-old singer.
So this night, July 4th, 76, we were playing on this very unique place. It's a building, but they look like a ship.
And we went outside, and I told her it was my birthday. I said, oh, your birthday today? Oh, my God, bicentennial, it's great.
He had an older girlfriend. I didn't think he'd be interested in me, and I respected him very much. He was only 4 years older than me, but he seemed so much older, and I had no experience whatsoever. I was very innocent.
It really took me a long time because, you know, what I saw, I was starting to fall in love with her. The more that I knew her, the more that I loved her. But I didn't want to make a move until I knew it was definitely the last person, the right person for me, to share my whole life.
He says, oh, come on, just a little birthday kiss on the cheek. So, of course, I was loving it. But I go, okay. So I go to give him a kiss on the cheek, and he turned his face, and there were fireworks, inside and out.
Coming up.
I literally had to pull over to the side of the road, and I went crazy.
And later.
I couldn't move. I was paralyzed from the waist down.
By the fall of 1976, 19-year-old Gloria Fajardo was a student at the University of Miami. In addition to caring for her ailing father, Gloria spent weekends singing in a local band, the Miami Sound Machine. Painfully shy on and off stage, Gloria was dating Emilio Estefan, the group's leader.
People think that Emilio was this Svengali type character, but he wasn't that way at all. What happened was that he would see so much in our personal life that he wanted to have me be free to express in my stage persona.
I think he gave her a lot of confidence in herself, and that helped her a lot.
I'd get behind the conga drums, I'd be in the back. So little by little I became more comfortable, and it was a very slow process, thank God, because I couldn't have handled it otherwise. 1978
was a banner year for Gloria. Not only did she graduate from college a year early, but the Miami Sound Machine signed with CBS International Records, and 21-year-old Gloria married 25-year-old Emilio Estefan on September 2nd.
It was very bittersweet, my wedding day. My dad at that point was already at the Veterans Hospital. He was really in a very bad state. But my wedding day, I really didn't have any other man in my life that could even stand in for my dad.
I asked her, who's going to work you in the wedding? He said, nobody. Nobody took my father's place. I want to work by myself.
After the wedding, Emilio and I went in my wedding dress and him in his tux to visit my dad.
And it was so incredible because for probably 5 years, she didn't recognize her.
He smiled and I go, Daddy, you know who I am? He goes, oh, Glorita.
On September 2nd, 1980, Gloria Estefan gave birth to her first child, a son named Naib. Just 2 months after the birth of her son, Gloria's father, Jose, passed away.
That was a bittersweet thing because I had been praying for a long time that God release him from this suffering because there was no way he was going to get better.
By 1983, the Miami Sound Machine released 4 successful Spanish-language albums in Latin America. The band would play to stadium-sized crowds, then return to Miami where they would perform at wedding receptions. Emilio Estefan decided it was time to try for an English-language crossover. First, he had to convince the record company to release Dr. Beat, their first English-language song.
To make a story short, I said, okay, put this song in the B-side of a Spanish single. We put in the B-side of the Spanish single. We personally took it to all the discos and things.
Emilio's determination and foresight impressed record producer Phil Ramone.
One can only look back and say he and what he believed in and how he approached the record company. At the time, the Latin market was very segmented from the pop market. And for her to do a song in English, they would not have done it, never.
3 weeks later, was #1 6 weeks later, it was #1 in England, Holland, Germany.
The Miami Sound Machine's first English-language single was a worldwide hit. CBS Records decided to move the group to Epic, its international rock music label. Eyes of Innocence, released in 1984, was a modest success. 27-year-old Gloria Estefan and her band returned to the studio to record their follow-up album, Primitive Love, featuring the rhythm-driven song, Conga.
Come on, shake your body, baby, do that conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Feel the rhythm of the music getting stronger. Don't you fight it till you try to do that conga beat.
I was driving on the highway at a nicely fast pace, and this record came on, Conga. I literally had to pull over to the side of the road, and I went crazy. I'd never heard a record like this in years.
By February 1986, Conga was a top 10 hit. The next month, the Miami Sound Machine won the grand prize at the prestigious Tokyo Music Festival. Gloria and her group were a pop music sensation.
Success in this country was a whirlwind. When this happened, everything took off like a supersonic jet. We had been working continuously for years, traveling through Latin America, then through Europe, which was where we were a hit first before Conga ever happened. But nothing could have prepared me for the hurricane that was the success in the United States, because automatically that translated worldwide in the music industry.
People always ask her, you were kind of like an overnight success. How did that feel? And she said, well, like the longest night of my life, because it was 10 years, and it was that.
Television producer and host Dick Clark.
Well, she obviously was the standout in the Miami Sound Machine. I forget what Emilio was playing, congas or something in the background. He was just another band member as far as I knew. She was definitely the star.
The Primitive Love album garnered 4 hit singles and went triple platinum. In the summer of 1987, the Miami Sound Machine released Let It Loose. The album also spawned 4 hits, including the group's first #1 record, Anything for You, written by Gloria Estefan.
Becoming famous and to that degree is one thing, but once you cement that with a second successful album, then things take an even more difficult turn.
Gloria and Emilio always took their young son on tour with the band. But when Naib turned 7, the family realized their situation had to change.
We were on the road constantly. And at that point, Naib had started school. He was in Little League. He didn't want to leave his friends. He didn't want to leave. So Emilio made a decision. He quit performing in the band so that he could stay home with him.
The international Let It Loose tour kept Gloria away from home for 16 months. For the first time in her career, the price of success was too high.
We would spend the weekends either me flying home or them flying out to meet me. If I had one day off, I'd spend that traveling to wherever they were. And it was becoming hell, and I missed a lot in those 16 months that I told Emilio, you know what, we cannot live this way. I'm not going to be apart. I'm not going to miss my son's life, and we either all go or I'm staying home.
In 1989, 31-year-old singer-songwriter Gloria Estefan released her first solo album. Gloria wrote 2 #1 songs for the release, including the title track. Producer Phil Ramone.
They asked me if I would come down and mix a single for her. And the single was Cuts Both Ways.
Cuts both ways. We're in too deep for sorry alibis.
The first time I met Gloria, I said to her, there was something magical about the low end, meaning the warmth of the voice. It reminded me a lot of Karen Carpenter.
Cuts Both Ways earned Gloria the 1989 BMI Songwriter of the Year award. It was the first time the honor had been given to a woman or to a Hispanic. Fellow songwriter and friend Diane Warren.
People know her more as a singer, but she's really a great writer. She has great instincts, and she writes from her heart. And it comes through, and she sings from her heart, too.
Gloria went on tour to promote the album. Husband Emilio and son Naib joined her on the road. On March 20th, 1990, President George Bush invited Gloria to the White House to help promote an anti-drug campaign. The next day, the Estefans were en route to a concert in Syracuse, New York. As traffic slowed to a stop on snow-covered Interstate 80, a tractor-trailer rig slammed into the back of their tour bus, forcing it into another truck. Gloria, who was napping on a sofa, was thrown to the floor.
Nothing prepared me for what I was going to go through when we had that bus accident.
In 1 minute, our life changed. Totally changed. And I said, it's not fair. It's not fair because she doesn't deserve this.
My only concern really was the fact that my son was in the back of the bus when we crashed, and I could not hear him say anything. All I cared about was him. When I went to try to get up off the floor of the bus, I couldn't move. I was paralyzed from the waist down.
9-year-old Naib suffered a broken collarbone. His mother's injuries, however, were much more severe. Gloria fractured her back in the fall.
At that moment, I thought she was going to be paralyzed for life. So I just look at her and say, I will give everything back to life. She'll be able to have a family and to have my family back, and she'll be able to walk.
Initial reports of the accident were unclear. Talk show host and friend Cristina Saralegui learned of the crash from her husband.
He walked in, he was white as a ghost, and he told me, Gloria, I think Gloria's dead.
It was like every accident happens all of a sudden. You don't expect them and break every rules in your life.
I heard the news on the radio first, then the terrible pictures on television.
At a local hospital, doctors discovered that Gloria suffered a broken vertebra in her lower back, as well as a pinched spinal cord. The next day, she was airlifted to the Hospital for Joint Diseases in New York City. In a 4-hour operation, surgeons attached 2 titanium rods to her spine. The 32-year-old singer narrowly escaped permanent paralysis, but the chance of a full recovery seemed remote.
The doctor came in and he gave me the worst case scenario, which is their job to do. And he said, this is what medicine says. But I was so fortunate to have a doctor that went beyond that had experienced things in his own family that had shown him that we have so much power beyond what medicine knows or science. And he said, now that I've said that, I can tell you that it's all up to you.
After hearing the doctor's words, Gloria had the profound belief she would prevail over her injuries.
When he said that, I thought, you know what? If it depends on me, then I'm going to be okay. And I told my family, I go, don't worry, things are going to be fine, no matter how long it takes me.
Only 2 weeks after the accident, Gloria was released from the hospital.
First thing I want to do is to thank the countless fans and incredible people who wish me well, the people who sent flowers and gifts and cards and words of encouragement and their prayers.
Gloria returned to Miami to begin months of difficult rehabilitation. Sister Rebecca Fajardo.
I never once heard her complain. I never once saw her cry. I never once heard her say, I can't. She's an amazing human being.
Singer and longtime friend Julio Iglesias.
She is a fighter. A great fighter. She will be a boxer. She will be a champion.
Gloria was determined to get well.
I stayed at their house. This girl couldn't walk 6 inches at a time. I mean, it was one half step against the other.
5 months later, she was celebrating that she can be able to brush her teeth or to get dressed. It was something so incredible that, I will never forget that.
As always, Emilio was there to support his wife.
He did not leave my side for 3 months. He would walk me every 45 minutes because I could not sleep or stay in one position for more than that time, in the middle of the night, several times, holding me, carrying me, changing me, bathing me.
She told me, Mati, for the first time in my life, I realized how much Emilio loved me.
I think that when you go through difficult situations together, it can do one of two things. It can split you up forever, or it can make your relationship that much deeper and cement it that much more. And that's what it did, both for my marriage and for us as a family.
The Estefans found the inspiration for their next project from one of their darkest days.
He was on the helicopter on the way from the accident place to New York to get the operation. He was in one helicopter, I was in another. And it was a very gray day. It was overcast. It was really bad. And all of a sudden, a ray of light kept hitting him in the eye.
Any place the helicopter used to fly, the sun used to hit on my eyes. I said, my God, this is a message, something is telling me that everything will be okay. I wrote in a piece of paper, coming out of the dark.
I went to the studio, and he was there with John Cicada. And I walked into the room, and John was singing the melody to Coming Out of the Dark, just that one line. And I sat there, and all of a sudden it just poured out.
It was so natural and so alive, so true, the whole thing. That was very emotional.
Coming out of the dark, finally see the light now. It's shining on me. I see the light, I see the light, see the light, see the light.
It was really a song of thank you to all the fans for doing what they had done for me and being there for me through such a tough time, and how they helped me come out of the dark, literally.
In January 1991, less than a year after the bus accident, Gloria released the album featuring Coming Out of the Dark. 2 months later, the single hit #1 on the pop and adult contemporary charts. 33-year-old Gloria Estefan was back on top, but another disaster loomed just ahead. On August 24, 1992, the greater Miami area was devastated by Hurricane Andrew. It was the worst hurricane in U.S. history.
We turned our office into a kind of command center, and we offered to sort donations, and people would bring the donations in, we would sort them and get them out to the areas that needed it most.
Friend and fellow Cuban American Andy Garcia joined the relief effort.
From batteries to water to Pampers, and we filled up, God, numerous 40-foot trailers, and we went out into the devastated area and started passing out just things that were such a necessity.
With the immediate needs handled, the Estefans embarked on their next project to help rebuild the spirit of Miami.
So we thought, great, well, what's the thing we can do best? Music. The city needed it. We needed to have a concert where we could just breathe a sigh of relief. We were able to pull in every favor.
We pulled from Rosie O'Donnell to Paul Simon to Julio Iglesias to Celia Cruz.
Talk show host and friend, Rosie O'Donnell.
So she got on the phone, hi Rosie, would you be willing to come and help for this Hurricane Andrew? And I said, sure.
We were able to put on this show and make $3 million for this cause.
Gloria's next project, her first Spanish-language solo album, was considered a risky career move for a major pop star.
Just say, here it is. I believe in it. I want to do this for my people, which is critical. She could have done a half Spanish, half English. But the music was extremely authentic.
Mi Tierra, a collection of songs inspired by Gloria's homeland, was released in July 1993. She wrote the title track.
She has been one of the pioneers of the Latino music. She has been, together with Emilio, together with the band, and after himself, she has been that class of artists that follow the roots of the Latino music complete until the end, without confusion.
Mi Tierra and 3 other singles topped the Latin music charts. The album went platinum and received a Grammy Award in 1994. Gloria Estefan seemed to have a perfect life, a loving family, loyal friends, and an incredibly successful career. But more than anything else, she wanted another baby.
They had told her that her life would be in danger and her back would be in danger because of the way the operation was, if she had to carry a baby to term. So it was a very iffy situation, and she just wanted to be a mom that bad.
Undaunted, Gloria pursued her goal.
At that point, we started trying to have a baby. It took a year before we realized things weren't working well, and then it took another year to figure out what happened.
After months of medical tests, Gloria was told that she had a crushed fallopian tube as a result of the bus accident. But the injury was surgically repaired and Gloria became pregnant. On December 5th, 1994, Emily Marie Estefan joined the family.
Emily was a miracle in our lives because I had never planned, obviously, to wait so long between my kids.
I've never seen anyone that can nurture like Gloria. Gloria's very fair. If you had to choose a mom in this day and age, I think she would be everyone's choice.
She looks exactly like Gloria. It's the cutest thing to see them together.
For Gloria and Emilio Estefan, September 24th, 1995 began like any normal day in Miami Beach.
Emily was taking a nap. It was Sunday. I had worked very hard promoting the Abriendo Puertas record for 2 weeks. I was pretty exhausted, and I thought, well, let's take a little boat ride.
I believe a lot in destiny. I think happens to you in your life because, destiny happened.
We were cruising maybe at 15 miles an hour because both Emilio and I are very safe boaters. I've taken 3 courses, piloting, navigation, seamanship, because I wanted to be very safe.
We was coming home right away. Was hardly no traffic.
And it was just one of those unfortunate things where someone riding a wet bike really didn't have experience on it.
And I saw something pass by. On the same time, I heard something hit the boat.
I think he panicked a little, and then he gave it gas and he went under. Because those vehicles are made to be able to go underwater and come back up. And it was just a tragedy. Emilio jumped in the water. He tried to do what he could. We tried to save him, and it was traumatic, very traumatic.
Maynard Howard Clark, a 29-year-old Howard Law School student, was seriously injured.
It was so sort of scary to do, but I had to jump because I wanted to be sure that I try everything that I can.
While Emilio tried to save Clark, Gloria took action.
911 police department. 911. Yes. I'm on a boat in front of the Governor Hotel. Please call the Coast Guard. We hit a man on a wet bike.
There's no other way to put it. Has to have been the most horrible thing in the world. And yet she handled it.
Singer and songwriter John Secada.
Having the experience of her accident behind her, helped her be just to deal with that particular situation, really focused and really strong.
As a result of the accident, Clark lost his life. The Estefans were cleared of any blame. Still, Gloria was devastated. Actor and friend Andy Garcia.
It was like, another knockout punch. She's been through so many sort of tragic elements in her life that have sort of throw you back.
For Gloria, a difficult task lay ahead.
His mother wanted to speak to me the day after this happened, and I was a wreck. I was an emotional wreck, but I knew what she needed to hear, because as a mother, I knew what I would want to know about any last moments that my son or daughter would have.
Childhood friend Patricia Escoto.
I think it's one of the times in all the years that I've known Gloria that I've really seen her have to deal with something head-on that was very, very difficult for her to do.
I tried to calm her, and then she ended up consoling me at the end of this conversation.
Still grieving from the tragedy, Gloria became an activist.
I went to Tallahassee. We spent many months researching and trying to put some effort together. And thank God that at least they started the process.
We wanted to apply a law so the people will have a little bit more careful about how they drive the wet bikes, at least to have a course, at least if they have a license.
In May 1996, less than 1 year after the death of Maynard Howard Clark, the first guidelines for the use of personal watercraft in the state of Florida went into effect.
They were able to pass a law that will get stronger as the next few years come about, and hopefully if some lives have been saved due to that law, his death wasn't in vain.
1996 was a busy year for Gloria. As the Summer Olympics approached, the star was invited to compose a theme song for the event, songwriter Diane Warren.
I'd heard that she was interested in doing the Olympic song, and I went out there, and she thought I was coming over just to have some fun. But she knows me. She knows I wouldn't come over just to have fun. I don't come over to relax and hang out. I come to work.
She says, I heard they invited you to do this song. What do you think of this title, Reach? So I sat there, and instantaneously my mind went to every day after my accident, having to talk myself into first getting out of bed, myself through the 5 to 6 hours of rehab. And of course that tied very nicely to the athletes and what they go through to get to Olympic shape.
Reach was the official anthem of the 1996 Olympics. Coming up.
Just for you, we have fireworks. Just for Gloria. Let's hear it for Gloria. It's a tribute to Gloria now.
And later.
She also seemed to come in there and just say, let's not rip the place apart.
By 1999, 42-year-old Gloria Estefan was one of the world's most successful recording artists. Throughout her career, she had been offered numerous acting roles, including one that seemed perfect for a Latin diva.
I turned down Evita for many reasons. First of all, I wanted to do film, but I was not going to start by starring in a motion picture. Talk about pressure.
But when director Wes Craven offered Gloria the role of a ghetto school teacher in the 1999 drama Music of the Heart, she grabbed it.
She was the perfect one for that particular role. Called for somebody that was very down to earth and very simpatico, somebody who you just want to have as your friend.
It's hard to fit in when you're doing a special program. People figure you're not going to be here long, so they don't make the effort.
It may take a while for folks to warm up, but they don't hate you.
What about Alice? Well, I was in shock. You know, she said to me, oh, I got a little movie role. I'm like, oh, really? What is it? Oh, Music of the Heart. I'm like, oh, who's in that? Meryl Streep. I'm like, whoa, talk about biting off more than you can chew with your first movie role.
The film was a box office disappointment, but the theme song, recorded by Gloria along with the group NSYNC, topped the music charts and was nominated for an Oscar.
When we met in Miami for the video, it was cool. It was just like old friends kind of clicking together.
Yeah.
She's just
They didn't start.
just like us. Jokes around and, you know, just cracks jokes and everything.
Gloria's triumph was overshadowed by yet another tragedy. In November 1999, 6-year-old Elian Gonzalez was one of 11 Cuban refugees found floating off the coast of Florida. Elian's mother lost her life attempting to bring her son to the United States. An international controversy flared over the fate of the young boy, and Gloria became an unofficial spokesperson for the Cuban-American community.
And do you think if that happens, the people in Miami will let this go quietly?
Well, I would ask the people of Miami, and I am one of the people in Miami, we want this boy to be happy as well. I think it's important that his father see him and do things in the best way for the boy, not the best way for either government, the U.S. government or the Cuban government.
She just stepped right in there, and it was a voice of reason. Everybody knows that she has the passion for her heritage and certainly for that young man, but she also seemed to come in there and just say, hey, let's not rip the place apart. Let's think reasonably about this crazy situation.
Gloria Estefan has always stood up for herself. The superstar has broken cultural barriers during her 25-year recording career, paving the way for others.
Had not Gloria achieved the success she's had, you probably wouldn't have, you know, all of the Latin stars. If she had died on the vine, the industry would have said, well, it's Latin, it's too confined, it's a small market. What do you need?
It opened the door. It definitely opened the door. Ricky Martin, Mark Anthony, Jennifer Lopez, Christina Aguilera. Gloria set a pace for all of the artists.
She's one of the first Latin superstars. I mean, really, she broke ground for everybody who's hitting now. She's kind of the original Latin hero.
And just for you, we have fireworks. Just for Gloria. Let's hear it for Gloria. It's a tribute to Gloria now.
And Emilio Estefan has been with his wife every step of the way. Niece Lily Estefan.
I truly believe that a team like my uncle and my aunt, a couple with so much of everything because they're perfect together. It only happens once in a lifetime.
People always talk about when you see souls who were meant for each other, and those two, they fit each other like no other two people I've ever seen together.
He was her only and her first boyfriend. She's never had any other serious boyfriend in her life. And that's really hard to believe, you know, this day and age. He is the love of her life and she is the love of his life.
Nunca quiero ni pensar que tus ojos me dejen de ver. No encontrarás amor que como yo te sea siempre fiel.
In the spring of 2000, Gloria Estefan came full circle musically with the album Alma Caribeña.
In my heart, there is always the roots of that music, which is my Cuban roots, the Cuban music that my mother raised me listening to, the stuff I used to sing for my grandmother in the kitchen.
The first single, No Me Dejes de Querer, hit #1 on music charts worldwide.
I think music has no language. It's about emotions, and I hope this album, people accept it with the same love that we did it.
Gloria Estefan has reached the highest level of success without leaving her family, friends, or Latin roots behind.
She's the best daughter I could be. She's the best. She cares, she provides, she stays there, she holds us together, she gives us everything she is. I think Gloria has left a mark on everyone's life, certainly everybody's life that she's touched, certainly on mine.
Gloria's a star. That's why she's had the longevity that she's had, and she'll continue to have.
She has taught me how to be patient, and she has taught me how to be famous, and she has taught me how to handle life a day at a time and live the moment.
Can't fake the kind of genuine appeal that she has, and she never has to worry about it going away because she's not changing her essence to fit the popular culture. She is who she is.
Gloria is an amazing person.
She is strong. She's spiritual. She's there for you when you need her.
She has got her feet on the ground. She doesn't go along with the whole post-glamour that we have, in this business. Gloria is first human, then entertainer.
Julio Iglesias sums Gloria up in one word.
Class. Class is something that is natural, and she has a natural class. She's a classic. And that is for always.
When you embrace the audience like that, they give you back the love, and it's a swapping back and forth. She has the most devoted fans in the world, and rightly so.
I think there's a special thing about her that has to do with a thing I call duende, which in Spanish is sort of it's something that's more of a gift from God. She's a great mother. She's tremendous. And in the same breath that she's telling you about her album, she's switching her brain to tell you about what's happening with Naive and what's happening with Emily.
They fulfill me on every level. And when I get off the stage, most performers have a difficulty leaving this whole career because there's so much love given to you when you're on that stage. And when I get off the stage, I have that much love and more so given to me by my kids, and they're really the most special thing to me.
Gloria is really funny.
She's very down and dirty.
Sick and perverted and twisted and hilarious.
She loves to say dirty jokes.
She teaches me dirty words in Spanish.
I just have a sick sense of humor, but it's carried me through a lot of tough moments.